I'm Peter. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter, where we take the mystery out of the tarot and help you bring this ancient practice into everyday life. In this podcast, we'll talk about life, tarot, and everything in between. So grab your tarot deck, get comfortable, and start your journey to tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Hi, everyone. I'm Peter, and welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Welcome to episode number 50. 50. Just a few episodes into season number 2, crossing the threshold of our second year of podcasting. And today, we're excited to say that, we've turned 50. That's like I said, I think I've said that before. That's pretty good for a podcast. I think they've said that the death of podcasts usually happens after episode 3. So to say that we've gone 50 episodes in, we want to thank you. Thank you for those of you that have been listening from the beginning. Thank you to those of you who have joined us partway through the journey. I'll also mention to you as well, as we usually mention at the end, but if you've enjoyed what we are doing here, then please, by all means, help us by getting that message out to those tarot aficionados and share our podcast in whatever platform you're listening it to. So, are listening to it on, whether it's YouTube or Spotify, whether it's on our website at tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com or on any other platform, Apple Podcasts, Prime, wherever it happens to be. So in this episode, we are going to continue the theme that we have done with the last couple. We've been having fun with the Major Arcana. We've been inviting, Bonnie and I have each been inviting a Major Arcana card to dinner. So far, we've had dinner with 4 Major Arcana cards. We've got 18 to go. What we've done is we've taken our decks. I'm still using the Luna edition of Ethereal Visions Tarot by Matt Hughes. And we draw a card, and then we ask a series of ice-breaking questions, and then we get a little bit more serious, and we answer the questions. Bonnie and I guess we kind of do a sort of a role play. It's almost sometimes we try and channel our inner Major Arcana card. Sometimes we just have fun answering as if, trying to hypothesize what the card might say to that question. So that's, that's where we're at. But before we get started though, Bonnie, why don't you tell people, if you got anything going on, anything coming up, where might people, find you other than at tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com?
Thanks, Peter, and happy 50.
50th, right? Happy 50th.
We should have some champagne and we should toast to our 50th episode.
Okay.
Okay. Twist my arm.
Twist my arm.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter. People can find me at my website, which is breathewithbonnie.com. If you'd like, you can sign up for my newsletter. And when you do that, you get access to listen to a free Yoga Nidra guided meditation, which helps you to rest and restore. And in my newsletter, I always send out any upcoming events that I have going on. And actually on July the 3rd, I have a workshop called Tarot as a Mirror. Not the future, just you right now. So in this workshop, we will use the tarot as a reflective tool to help us see what's happening right now, as opposed to using it as a tool for prediction. So you don't have to know any of the card meanings. We're going to look at the cards from a more of an intuitive style. And it's a really great workshop for beginners. Maybe you have a tarot deck, you don't know how to use it. Also, if you've been using tarot for a long time, sometimes it's a great way to look at it from a different perspective. So that's coming up on July 3rd. You can find out all about it on my website. And yeah, I'm excited about that.
Is that in person or is that online?
It's online.
Oh, yeah.
I did one in person and it was great. Yeah. And I've been speaking to some other people and they're like, I want to come to your workshop, but they're in California. So I'm like, okay, maybe I need to do this one online.
That's great. I'm looking forward to that. I'll definitely be there. That sounds like a fantastic workshop. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Peter. How about you? You've got something exciting coming up.
I do. So I've got, and I'm not sure whether it will have just happened or whether it will be just happening, depending on when we launch this podcast. But yeah, the first of my Cards of the Zodiac series, which are the cards of Cancer, is coming up on Saturday, June the 7th. At 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's online. Of course, it'll be available for purchase after the fact if you miss it. If you do sign up and you can't attend live, of course, the video will make its way to you. And it's a unique way, a seminar style course that I created that looks at the tarot in a unique way. I think I've mentioned before, we often look at the tarot through its structure. We look at the tarot through its suits, or we look at them through their numbers, or through the quartz, or through the majors. And this way, we're actually going to look at it through the signs of the zodiac. So, for example, signs of Cancer, we're going to be looking at every card associated with Cancer, from the seasonal cards to both the decan and the shadow decan cards of the quartz, to the sign, rulership, and decan-based cards. And then we're going to take a look and see, what kind of stories do these cards tell us when they're combined together, and how can we use them to be able to support us during that particular astrological season. So in some ways, it's part learning tool, part practical guide, and I'm really excited about it. So you can find out about it at my website at peterwhitetarot.com, or of course, you can always link to my website through tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com. So that's the big thing that I've got going on right now.
That sounds
other
amazing.
Than episode 50, which,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that class as well, Peter. And I had the pleasure of being on Yasmin Boland's Mainly Moonology podcast this past week. That'll be airing in a few weeks. But we were talking astrology and tarot, and I had to refer to my podcast partner, Peter, who is well-versed in astrology and tarot. So for
not as well-versed as Yasmin Boland is, mind you, but... other than the tarot, I have some familiarity with astrology, although tarot is my passion and my baby.
But you have such a great way of weaving those concepts together, and mine is extremely high level. So I'm looking forward to your class, Peter.
Good. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to that podcast. When will your episode be released, roughly?
It's around like the June 23rd timeframe, I think.
Right.
I can't remember the exact date, but it's in alignment with the new moon in Cancer, I believe.
There you go.
Is that right?
Yeah, which I think is the 25th, I think. In our time zone, I think it's the 25th. So, good. Oh, looking forward to that as well. She's awesome. I was a guest on her podcast, I think, last month, and I loved it, and hope to do it again, because she's a bundle of joy and a bundle of energy, and certainly a wealth of knowledge. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Have you got your deck ready?
I've got my deck ready. I'm using the Light Seers Tarot by Chris Ann.
Okay. Did you changed, have you? Did you use that one before?
I think last time I used Earthwoman Tarot by Tarn Ellis. Yeah. Right. Now I'm using back to the Light Seers. Yes.
Right. And you've got it all set up and ready to go.
Yeah, I've taken out the 4 cards that we've already talked about.
Me too, and I've been shuffling so much my shoulder's starting to get sore now. So, all right, here we go.
Yeah, it's a workout.
Who's coming to dinner? Look at that.
Who's coming?
I have the lovers coming to dinner.
So do I. Oh my God, we talked about this last time. What would we do? Okay, you picked first. I'll pull another card.
All right, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess the odds of us drawing the same cards will increase as the deck gets smaller.
Yeah.
So maybe starting episode, whether we have a guest coming on next or not, but with the next episode we do this, maybe what we should do is one of us will draw first, and then the other one will go and pull that card out of the deck.
Exactly. Right. Okay. The Hermit.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, this will be interesting. So I find it interesting that we drew the Lover's card, the Lover astrologically associated to Gemini, which is actually the season that we're in right now when we are recording the this episode. So the Lover's card just might feel very comfortable around the table with us. So there you go.
And my husband's a Gemini, so a lot of times when the Lover's card comes up, that has that association for me of him.
Well, that's a good thing. It's a good card I think it's always a good card to associate, your significant other with.
Exactly. Yeah. It ended up, working out really nicely for me.
Well, this will be fun because the 2 cards, I think there's There's a lot of meat on the bones with both of these guests, so they should be fun dinner guests.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Do you want me to start and I'll ask you the first
Sure.
question?
By all means,
Okay.
yeah. By all
Okay.
means.
So we're gonna answer as if we're the archetype that we pulled. So Peter's gonna answer as if he were the lover's card, and I'll answer as if I were the hermit. So okay, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, lovers, where would you go?
Oh, I would probably go to what would have been the traditional. Well, look, I mean, I'm the lover, so I'm gonna make a choice between two places. I'm going to either go to Venice
Mm,
because of its significant romance, or I could be nostalgic and go to what used to be the honeymoon capital of the world, which is, about an hour and 45-minute car drive from where we are, and go to Niagara Falls. Canadian side,
mhm,
Canadian side. Let me be very firm about that. My apologies to our American listeners. The Canadian side is the much nicer side of the of Niagara Falls. So that's simple answer. I'd be using the lover's title as opposed to that idea of Gemini. Although I said two things, so that ties in nicely with the lover's card. So Venice or Niagara Falls, Canada.
oh, I love that. I was thinking, I'm like, ooh, you already used Paris in a
I know.
previous episode because I was like, oh,
I know.
Paris would be a good one too. But no, I love that.
Yeah, it would have been, and everybody talks about the idea of being in love in Paris in the spring, but Venice really has that
Mm,
real sense of romance to it. And I think if anybody's ever been, although it's crowded, it really does force you to slow down just because you got to park your car. You can't, no cars are allowed in Venice, right? You're basically taking the ferry, or whatever boat you're taking over to the
mm,
city of Venice itself, and you're on foot or in a boat, or romantically in a gondola.
Oh, I have, or like Vegas has Venice,
I thought about
Venice Hotel.
Vegas. Funny, I thought about Vegas as well with the wedding chapel kind of vibe, but it was a little too, it was a little too tacky. It was a little too tacky for me. And I've been to Venice and I've never been to Vegas, funny enough. So,
Oh, so you have to go to the Venice Hotel in
in
Vegas.
Vegas, yeah, yeah.
Because so I've been to the Venice Hotel in Vegas, but I've never been to Venice. So
Yeah, no, a lot of people are surprised. Do a lot of travel and have never been to Las Vegas, and I have no real interest. But anyways, we digress.
we
Um,
digress.
to you, the Hermit, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
I'm going to give a plug to Kripalu, which is a yoga center in Massachusetts where I've been many times. It is like
And
a
are going
second home,
again?
and I'm going again in July. Yes. Um, on a meditation retreat. So they do retreats at Kripalu and they do silent retreats. So when you're there on retreat, if you've decided to go on a silent retreat, then it's an opportunity to be silent, and then you wear a pin, and then people know that you're on a silent retreat. If it's not Kripalu, somewhere that you would go for a meditation retreat, really to a place where you can reconnect with yourself. So, um, yeah. I like there's so many places in the world that you could go to experience that, but the one that I know about is Kripalu. So I'm going to say I'm
Mm,
going to go to Kripalu on a silent meditation retreat, and I'm going to take that time to go inward and get to know myself.
wow. Hmm. That's a great spot. I thought the Hermit might have gone, solo camping in Algonquin Park,
Mm.
or taken their tent and, climbed,
Yeah, like a
climbed a
mountain.
mountain, like just, again. But I love the idea of that silent retreat because that's exactly what the Hermit would do.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm thinking like some cave in northern Tibet or something like that, like they go there
Yeah.
to retreat and to really, connect with themselves. So,
Okay. Um,
yeah.
so I'll ask you, Hermit, do you have a favorite book or movie that you would recommend to everyone?
Okay. So again, I did this last time, like, okay, first thing that popped into my head, Bonnie, just go with it. And people are really going to be like, oh, that Bonnie doesn't remember a lot. But okay, what is the name of the movie where Tom Hanks is on an island and he has that volleyball and he names
Called
him
Wilson.
Wilson? Yes.
Castaway, isn't it?
Castaway.
Yeah, isn't that what it
Okay.
is? Castaway.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
it's called Castaway. That movie popped into my head because Tom Hanks really was alone on an island.
Yeah.
And I think with the Hermit card and sort of going on these quests of being alone, we're afraid to be alone.
Mhm.
We're, maybe afraid to be by ourselves or afraid to uncover some of these things that are deep within us. And that movie evokes a lot of that emotion. I mean, he's by himself, not by choice. The Hermit is generally, about going on a quest,
Mhm.
but you're going on this quest out of your own free will.
Right.
And of course, with Tom Hanks, he ended up there not in his own free will, but to see what the mind goes through when we're searching for companionship or other people to be with, and having that time to just be with ourselves and be okay with being alone once in a while. So that's a bit of a stretch with that movie because, again, it's not the exact concept, but that was the first movie that popped into my head. So I'm going with Castaway.
Yeah, but that whole idea of association to a card, right, is a helpful practice. So if it's the first thing that, and then you kind of talk about, there's no perfect answer, right? So you
Right.
talk about the concepts that are there. Interesting. Interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. I like that.
Thank you. What do you have a favorite book or movie that you would recommend to everyone?
Look, I do actually. The movie that I would recommend is Love Actually. Um,
Oh,
and
oh, I love that movie
right, so
for many,
look,
many
there's this.
reasons.
Yes. Now I could tell a story about the movie, and I'm not going to. Suffice it to say that as a family movie, a selected movie as a family to show a preteen and a young teen, bad choice.
Mm.
All I'm going to say there. But the reason one was for the in the title, Love Actually, but the whole concept of the movie actually is are people looking to make different kinds of connections. So it's a movie that's based in choice, but it's also a movie, and I think of Emma Thompson's character where like she kind of emerges where what she does is it's almost that I need to love myself and just real issues with with her partner who is making some some choices that are pretty detrimental to their marriage in general. But they're like this just I think it's the maybe it's the variety of choices that are made through relationships in that movie that caused me to select it. Because the ultimate foundation is choice, which is, am I going to choose to be in that relationship? Am I going to choose to be with that person? Am I going to choose to love myself? Am I going to choose this person over that person? Because we have that kind of love triangle that happens there as well with Keira Knightley. And so like I thought that movie almost perfectly underlines two aspects of the Lover's card. One is that concept of, we have to remember the title of the card, the Lovers, so that idea of love can sit inside the Lover's card. But that concept of duality and choice, which sort of underline the Gemini concept of that card, sits in that movie too. So there you go.
Mhm.
That's my first one, not as long-winded. Second one, more long-winded. That's the movie that I would recommend.
I love that. And I do love that movie. And I think it's time for me to rewatch that movie because it's been a few years. But it's true. It's about
it's an every year movie for
yeah.
us. Kelly,
Oh, okay.
it's one of the movies that and Family Stone are two movies that right around the holidays she brings out, which lets me make the argument that Die Hard is also a Christmas movie, and I get to bring that one out. Often watched it by myself, mind you, but
Die Hard. Yes, we
and
grew
Elf,
up watching Die Hard.
right?
all
There
the
you go.
time, not
People,
just Christmas,
people can put
but
in their comments now if they've gotten this far. What do you think? Die Hard, Christmas movie, not a Christmas movie, right? So,
true. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
uh,
no, I love actually. What a great choice. And I think at the end, right? Or like in one, because it follows so many different relationships. Colin Firth, he goes after the Portuguese girl, right? Like in
yeah,
Portugal.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's like,
Well, I
my
think I
background
think
is
he's in France
Portuguese. And
actually. I think he's in France,
oh,
and
but
he's
she's the
correct.
yes.
She only speaks Portuguese. So yeah,
Yes, I remember that. And then again, it's this like concept of you're choosing from your heart, not
correct.
because this person is filling some type of void. It's like two people are coming together as themselves to be in this relationship.
Mhm.
And together you create this like amazing synergy and this partnership. So, yeah, I love that. So,
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
Now I digress. I had to be like, woohoo, it goes for the Portuguese girl. Okay.
Right, of course. Says Bonnie, the other Portuguese girl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Is it my turn to ask you?
Yes, I think it
Okay.
is. I think we've gone back and forth that way.
Okay.
Which I'm stalling because I'm
Lovers.
stuck on this one.
Oh, you're stalled. Okay. What I think you were stalled on this one last time too. What's your go-to comfort food or
Yeah.
something that you love to eat?
Yeah. So my go-to comfort food. Huh. Um, I look, you know what? It's gonna be a cop-out answer. I'm gonna go on that idea of duality. My
Mm.
comfort food is a 2-bite brownie.
Oh,
Right.
love that.
2 bites, one for each half of the lovers.
And who
That's
doesn't love a brownie?
right, exactly. But it's got to be a 2 bite. It's got to be a 2 bite brownie. Right?
You
It's
bite
got to be a two
brownie.
bite brownie. So there you go. You can always, you can search that term if you like. 2 bite brownie is a thing. Little teeny brownie. That's what it would be. That's it. No explanation other than 2 bites and we're done. We've got the idea of tunis sitting in the lover's card. What about
I
you?
love that.
For you, Hermit, what is your go-to comfort food?
I don't know. I'm stumped on this one. What
Right?
is my go-to
Some of them are
comfort
hard.
food? The
Yeah.
hermit. I know this one's a tough
Mhm.
one.
Mhm.
If the hermit were by themselves on retreat, I I don't know. This one's tough for me.
Yeah.
Something. Okay, I'm gonna go sandwich. The hermit's gonna have a sandwich. Does that make sense?
You're
No.
gonna make it make sense.
No. What would you eat when you're by yourself?
Yeah.
What do you
I don't
eat
know.
when you're
Yeah,
by
it's true, right?
yourself?
It'd be no fuss, no muss. You just make yourself a
Yeah.
sandwich and
You make
away you
yourself a
go. Sure, why
sandwich?
not?
Yeah. Okay. The
Well,
hermit's gonna have a sandwich
yeah.
and with things that they
Okay.
enjoy eating. But yeah,
Nobody.
not like a big production. They're just
Perfect.
yeah.
It's simple.
That one was hard.
All right.
Oh.
Well, how you gonna like the next one then, Hermit? Do you collect anything or have any unusual interests?
Oh. Do you collect anything or have any unusual interests? The hermit. Peter, this one's hard.
I know.
The hermit's a tough one. What is their
Well,
what
I
is
mean,
their unusual
I always think if
interest?
they'd collect something, it would be something that would be solitary, right? That you would collect
Hmm.
by yourself, that you would get into and contemplate. And I think we had said stamp collections before, but I thought wouldn't be so bad because the Chariot, I think at one point said collecting stamps, but a
Yeah.
stamp collection be a kind of thing that you would do on your own, right? As opposed to having a nice wine collection, which is something that you would share with others, which is exactly where I would go with the lovers, right? The lovers would be a collector of fine wine.
Right. Yes, which is good. Okay, I think I've got something for the hermit. So I'm going to say, unusual interest, maybe it's not unusual, but an interest the hermit might have would be going on hikes, right?
Yeah.
They're hiking, they're coming home to themselves. So maybe they're collecting walking sticks or they have amazing hiking shoes or lanterns, right? Quite often we see in the hermit card, someone's holding a lantern. Maybe they collect antique lanterns, but their interest is going to be going on hikes in places that people generally maybe, not so mainstream places. They're going to take the road less traveled and go on on hikes.
Yeah, I think that's you were worried about not having an idea. I think that's a great save. Actually, going on hikes would be exactly what the hermit would do. It's hikes like a little mini quest.
Mm-hmm,
Hmm.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So is your wine
Yeah, totally,
collector of fine
totally, and
wines for
for a variety
lovers?
of reasons, right? One is it's not usually a solitary activity. Although as somebody who does enjoy wine and have studied wine, I won't lie. There are times when enjoying a glass of wine by myself is extremely is a very enjoyable activity. But I think the lovers would be a collector of fine wines, and that would be for a variety of reasons. One, it allows to bring the other, right? So
Mhm.
that concept of bringing in the other, but it also lies. I think it ties to its sort of Gemini astrology because it sharing wines can be a very social, conversation loosening activity, and that really does sit in Gemini's wheelhouse as well. So both of those things, you know. Yeah, and sometimes after having, a couple of glasses of wine, our inhibitions lessen as well. So maybe we're more likely to take on lovers, after we've had a bottle or two of wine in our tasting. Who knows? So, you know,
Hey, if I've had 2 bottles of wine, I'm sleeping. I am out.
right there you go. See?
Yeah.
So it would be, it would be fine wines. Like, and I don't
Mhm.
mean pricey, but wines that would be distinguished and that people would want to taste. That's where the lovers would go.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing because again, too, when we think about the lovers, it's this idea of like making a choice from the heart, like a
Mhm.
heart-centered choice.
Mhm.
People who collect fine wines love wine. Like you're
Correct.
not just collecting fine wines because it's something to collect. That's
Mhm.
something that you really appreciate. So I think that's such
Mhm.
a great idea. So
Yeah. Excellent.
cool.
All right.
Okay. So
Yeah, you asking me now?
I think so.
All right,
What's your
here we go.
favorite way to unwind after a long day?
I love a nice intimate conversation with a friend or loved one. That's just a nice way to kind of summarize my day, to be able to connect before I call it done for the day.
I love that.
Yeah, doesn't have to be deep and probably isn't, but it's intimate, helps some connection. It's nice surface area. It might even just be a summary of the day, but it's a good way to make that two-person connection. And for me, as the lovers, it helps me unwind.
That's awesome. I
What
love
about
that.
yeah? What about you, Hermit? What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
I keep getting these contemplative cards.
Yeah.
Okay. The hermit's favorite way to unwind after a long day. I'm going to say taking a bath. Like, because the hermit's been hiking all day, probably. They're in
Mhm.
contemplation, they're hiking. There's a lot of, sort of this quest for self-discovery and a really nice bath, maybe with candles and rose petals, essential oils, whatever it is that makes you feel almost a little indulgent. Sometimes with the hermit, we think that it could be hard work that we have to
Oh,
do, right? Like this journey of self-discovery sometimes is quite difficult, but it's okay to indulge a little bit too and appreciate how far you've come in the work you're doing. So I'm going to say have like a really nice bubble bath, a relaxing bath that just makes you feel nurtured.
yeah, that's great. And you'd have to figure too, after a hike, they might be smelly. So a bath could work.
True. And a little dirty, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on where you're hiking, right? Like
Ex-
if you're, lots of dust and
e-
sweat.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So,
Okay.
last one.
Last one.
Well, last fun one.
Last one.
Um, what's a song or artist you've been listening to lately?
Oh, easy, easy. Heart.
Oh.
Right. So I'm listening to Heart One because connected to the lovers, and two, who are the two main people in Heart, Anne and Nancy Wilson, right? Two sisters with an exceptionally close relationship as well. So yeah, that's what's on my playlist. I am listening to Heart. So
If they come in concert, I want to go see them. So I have a playlist called Amazing Women. It's like my
yeah,
girl
yeah.
power. listen to, and I've got like 3 heart songs on there. I love them, and they have this amazing energy, and their voices really like resonate through your entire body. Like they are
Yes,
so good.
I would agree.
So
Yeah. And guitar playing as well is exceptional. Barracuda has to be, that chugging ding 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 ding. That's fantastic.
it is.
No.
My
Uh,
go-to is Crazy on You. When that song comes, like I go crazy. And I think I can sing as good as they
oh
do,
yeah, there
but
you go. There you go. All right. Well, so
that's not really the case.
if Stolen needs a guest vocalist, if we ever get into some heart, we're calling you.
No, you don't. If you want a really quick way to like all of your attendees to go home,
Oh,
it would be
clear room.
Bonnie singing.
Oh no.
But I think I can. So in my head, I sound really
Yeah,
good.
well,
But
that's always good,
in
right?
reality,
That's why we sound
yeah.
great in the car and in the shower because we're often in there by ourselves.
Yes, exactly. I was like, yeah, I can sing. I'm great at
Okay.
this.
Well, we've had a lot of different ideas. The last one goes to you, though, as the Hermit. What song or artist have you been listening to lately?
That's a really good question. I'm going to go with like Tibetan bowls, like no artist that I know of or
Mhm.
can think of offhand, but some type of meditative music where
Mhm.
there's like singing bowls. And again, music that's going to help you go inward and
Yeah.
reflect, and nothing too noisy. So nothing with lyrics, but more about sounds that evoke emotion and help you really to connect
Yeah.
back to yourself.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like the stuff you'd find on like Insight Timer or, one of those kind of mindful apps. Or, I mean, I'm literally looking at my bowls that I could reach them if I wanted to. I have a set of 7 um, that are all aligned to the chakras, the sounds of the chakra as well. That's this just there really is something because when we actually went to the farm event that you were at where you were
oh,
the one in
the
Tottenham,
Mystic
the
Market
Mystic
at the
Market,
barn in
and
Tottenham.
they
Yeah.
had the sound table there as well with the sound bowls. And the one thing I find that's so amazing, what makes them so easy to contemplate, is you don't you it's hard to sense the source of the sound. Even though
Mm.
you know it's coming from the bowl, it doesn't feel like it's coming from the bowl. It feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Mhm.
So that idea of of the hermit being alone and then being sort of surrounded by sound is a really good evocative one. Nice choice. Nice choice. Hermit, are you ready to give us some guidance as well?
Sure.
Yeah, we've been asking, questions of our dinner guests now for the last couple of meals that we've had with the Major Arcana. And I've gotten some really good advice from others. But I'd like to ask you, especially, since so contemplation is such a strong suit for yours. What pattern do I keep repeating and why?
Okay, so what pattern do you keep repeating? As the hermit, I would say not giving yourself enough time for introspection.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, like we go through life and things are really busy, and we often allow that noise and that busyness to take over. So I think the pattern would be that there's a lot going on,
Hmm.
and giving yourself space for reflection would be really helpful. So that's kind of the opposite of the hermit, right? Like I don't see it as like you're taking too much time on your own. I'm seeing it as more like you're not taking enough time on your own. So that might be helpful for you. Does that resonate?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I
You're
appreciate I
welcome.
I appreciate the guidance.
Okay, lovers, what pattern do I keep repeating and why?
Um, Now I guess if I was going to answer this to through the eyes of the lovers, it would be that idea of being perhaps uh, paralyzed by choice.
Mm.
So
Yep, that's me.
the idea of being faced with a a choice and often major choices, right? We're talking this is major arcana advice. And
Mhm.
when we see a card like the lovers, we are often faced with a choice. Sometimes it's this or this, but sometimes it's a variety of options. And the lovers often can talk about that, that catalytic point, that crossroads point where we're like, we have to make a choice.
Mhm.
And, when we're talking about the idea of a repeating pattern, it might be being stuck at that crossroad and not knowing which pathway to take.
Mhm.
The other option as well is sometimes it's taking one path, but then always looking back over our shoulders and asking ourselves, should I have gone the other way? Instead of being okay with the path that we've taken. So almost two perhaps pieces of advice coming from the lovers, both centered around choice, but one around the pattern of sort of being stuck at the crossroads and not knowing which way to go, and the other being, okay, I make my choice, I'm going down a pathway, but instead of enjoying the road that I'm on, it's is contemplating the road that I didn't take. So again, having that idea of choice in our minds, if the lover's card isn't there, then we're not thinking about the other choice. We're making it and we move on. Whereas the lover's
Mhm.
there kind of saying, you know what, that shadow of that other choice is still hanging on. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Does that resonate with you at all?
Oh, 100% it resonates with me.
Okay.
It's I'm a Libra. I'm a Libra rising, a Libra sun, and
Yeah.
all I do is like contemplate like, do I do this or do I do
And
that? So choice is
I just
tough.
realized, I just thinking, so you drew the card of Virgo, I drew the card of Gemini. We actually drew both of Mercury's rulership cards, right?
Mm.
Since Mercury rules both of those signs, Virgo and Gemini. Um, that so I hadn't made that connection, but this is the second or third time I think we've drawn cards that all have some kind of a planetary connection. So
Mhm,
there
mhm,
you go. Yeah, and same, right? Anybody listening, if this kind of advice resonates with you, then take the card draw as a personal one. I never, I don't want to say I'm not a big fan of reading for the collective. I think there are times and places for it. I think more it's like when you see somebody read a card and interpret it, if that resonates with you in this time in this space, then take the advice that you're getting today from both the Hermit and from the lovers.
mhm, for
So
sure.
yeah.
Okay. Next question.
Yes.
What is blocking or challenging me right now?
Well, I guess from the lover's perspective, in some ways, it's almost very similar to the
Mhm,
last answer. And this one would be more along the idea of paralysis by choice.
mhm,
It's the idea of not being able to move forward. So that would be really the highlighted block here. Would be I've got a choice and I don't know what to do. As
mhm,
opposed to I'm kind of stuck and I'm not moving quite quickly, and I still make a choice from the last one, or I look behind me and check them. I'm focused on the choice I didn't make. This one is what is blocking me is that uncertainty, that indecisiveness of making a choice. It's like I got my choice and I don't know what to do. Like I'm literally stuck. Which is always interesting because this would be those kind of things where I'd be like, well, let's draw another card and see, how can we unstick ourselves? And maybe that's the Hermit. Maybe the response is, kind of through inner reflection, through contemplation, through taking that moment to kind of, feel comfortable with ourselves, maybe taking some solitude, some time alone. So I'm in some
mhm,
ways I'm blending your guest's advice with my guest's advice, but I'm offering your guest's advice as a solution to the I guess issue or concern that my guest brought forward, the blocking and challenging energy. Does that make sense at all? Did
Oh,
I did I go
yes.
out on a tangent perhaps?
No, no, and it's funny because my own card draws for myself this morning before we even got on the call are about making choices. So I got the two of swords. I got the two of swords, I got the fool, and what was my other card? Oh, I got the five of swords. So
Oh
uh,
wow, okay.
choice has been
Choices
coming
and
up a
challenges now.
yes, right? Making a choice, being afraid to make that
Hmm.
decision because of fear of failure, right? So this is all resonating for me. Yeah. So thank you, Peter. This is like we're giving each other personal readings here. This
Personal
is
readings,
amazing.
exactly. There you go. Well, and yeah, yeah. Well, you're very welcome.
Yes.
Thank you for as the lovers. Thank you for entrusting me with the response to your question.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
I'll ask the same. What is blocking and challenging me right now, Hermit?
Okay, so again, these two questions I think are very similar in
Yeah.
terms of what are the patterns that I keep
Yeah.
repeating and what is blocking or
Yeah.
challenging me
And
right
maybe we'll
now.
shake them up at the next dinner. Maybe we'll give our next dinner guests a little bit more of a different flavor.
But I see the nuance though in
Oh yeah.
between
Yeah.
those
Me too.
two because it's like the pattern that I keep repeating is that maybe I don't take the time to be alone with myself. And what is blocking or challenging me is that when I am alone with myself, am I filling that time with things that are distracting me as opposed to filling that time for, for reflection
Right.
or contemplation or just being silent and creating that space for stillness. In that stillness, that's where clarity and awareness really comes in. So I think with the hermit, the idea of it's okay to be alone and take that time for yourself to sort of block out the craziness of life. But when we are alone with ourselves, what are we occupying our time with? Are we doom scrolling? Are we watching shows because we're watching something that nobody else wants to watch? So this is time for ourselves. Are we reading books? Are we like filling that space with distractions as opposed to, hey, I'm just going to give myself some time to be silent or listen to a meditation or be guided by something and then give myself that space for clarity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to say could be blocking or challenging you
Hmm.
right now is that in times of solitude, um, how how are you using that time, and
Hmm.
is it really benefiting you
Interesting.
to make a deeper or yeah, create that deeper relationship with yourself, finding your inner light, right? Like the lantern they hold on the outside, but really that lantern is on the inside. It's like finding that light within.
I'm laughing because for the very first time last night, for those of you that are watching, you'll be able to see this picture. I took this picture last night in the yard. We actually got our fire bowl going. So we got our fire permit, our fire bowl going. And what we've been doing, and for those who listen to Kelly's podcast, she's talked about a book series that she's really gotten into and done a fair amount of reading. It's kind of she's gone down a particular rabbit hole. But what we have both done is we've moved away from the time that we would spend at the end of the day together, which would often be mindless. And we've gotten into a place where we might actually sit down and actually enjoy our books together. So we're not reading a book together, but we're actually in the same space. And we're taking that time of solitude, but also taking some time to just kind of connect into each other's space, as opposed to exactly that doom scrolling or even watching mindless television, like watching shows that we've seen two or three or four times that we just kind of sit down and take comfort in that, as opposed to taking comfort in other things. So I've and for me, I really have been trying to focus on more time of like more time of growth and solitude and self-development. So that definitely resonates with me. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Yeah. Do we have one more question?
We have
Yes, we
one
do.
more.
All right.
Yeah,
All right. Now, I'm asking you then, correct?
sure.
Yes. Okay. So what will support me? What will support me to move forward?
Okay. What will support you to move forward, Peter? From the hermit's perspective,
Yes.
uh, again, I would say taking time to really connect with the divine Peter, right?
Mm.
That our soul, right? Like, we have these bodies, we're on this earth, we're having this physical experience, but so often we don't take the time to connect with that divine part of ourselves, right? That brings us back to this place of wholeness and completeness and connection to everything. I just did a workshop on the high priestess last week, and we talked a lot about like the divinity within, and you hold all of the answers that you seek. So, really taking the time to connect with the divine Peter within, finding your inner light, and knowing that you have all of the answers that you seek. And the best way to access those answers is time with you in silence and stillness. And knowing that that isn't, we often think about being still or silent as a waste of time, but that's really where we get clarity. We can see the bigger picture. We can find solutions to issues that we're having. So, really creating a practice that helps you, that gives you the space to be able to do that.
Hmm. Thank you. The Divine Peter. Okay.
The Divine Peter.
Right.
Again, a movie title. That could be a great movie title.
But no, truthfully, but the idea of, I always think that concept of divinity is really that idea of connecting to, the divine within all of us, right? That idea of what is, whether it's our greater purpose or the universe's greater purpose or whoever's greater purpose, that we serve. That is what divinity is. So taking the time to do that. Thank you. No, I thank you. That's great advice coming from the Hermit.
Thank you.
All right.
And lovers, what will support me to move forward?
Well, we've talked about all kinds of different concepts about the Lover's card, but the one piece of advice that I would give you is that concept of duality here. So what helps, what supports you moving forward are those people and things that you are connected to, the other, that idea of the relationships that you enter into are the places to be able to look for support. If we think about the progress of the major arcana, from the Fool all the way to the Hierophant, we really do have the Fool walking that path by themselves. For the very first time when they encounter the Lover's card, they encounter someone else. So, in a lot of ways, that idea of support comes from the concept of other. Too often, we think like the Hermit, we think, the answers are within, or we have to do things on our own. But the truth is there are times when our support actually comes from without. And that's what the Lover's card, is saying. It would also talk about its Gemini link and would say that, sometimes support comes through talking things out as well, or communicating, through word, whether it's, through written word or through speaking as well. So that's what the Lover has to say as far as, as far as what's going to support you to move forward.
I love that. And thank you. Because I've got the Hermit practices down pat. I'm pretty good at my meditation practice and taking time for stillness. But I think that I have to do everything by myself, or I have to figure it all out by myself. And I think communicating with others is really going to support me. So I appreciate that insight. So thank you. Thank you, Lover's card.
You're very welcome. And thank you, please, as well. Thank you, Hermit, for all your conversation and insight today for dinner. And thank you for those of you who took the time to join us around the table today, around the dinner table with the Lovers and the Hermit. We want to thank you as well. And please, if you've got any ideas for any upcoming shows, we'd love to hear from them. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear questions, comments, even concerns that you have about our podcast, so that we can learn as well moving forward. And then I'll leave it to Bonnie to sign us off.
Yes, for our 50th episode, we again want to thank you for being here. We do this because we love the tarot and we want to share that wisdom with you, what we find through the cards and through our own practices. So it is truly an honor to be able to do this and to share this with you. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Thank you. Bye.